What if we told you that one of Hollywood's biggest stars, Johnny Depp, was brought to tears live on television by the words of a teacher from his past? Yes, it happened, but this moment wasn't scripted. It wasn't a movie scene. It was real, and it moved Johnny Depp in ways few could imagine. Stick around to learn how a simple encounter with his teacher made him break down in front of millions. Johnny Depp, the man who's captivated us with his iconic roles in films like Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands, and Finding Neverland, is a name known around the world. But beneath the fame and the characters, there's a side of Depp that you might not know, one that involved a moment of deep vulnerability and emotion, triggered by a conversation with someone who played a pivotal role in shaping his life. In today's video, we're diving into the lesser-known story of Johnny Depp's powerful connection with his teacher, a connection that would go on to touch his heart in an unexpected and unforgettable way. This isn't just another Hollywood story. It's about the impact that a teacher, a mentor, can have on their students long after they've left the classroom. By the end of this video, you'll discover how words that were shared on a TV show, managed to leave Johnny Depp speechless and in tears. But more than that, you'll gain insight into the influence of mentors and how their words can shape someone's life, even years later. This is a story of deep emotion, gratitude, and the unbreakable bond between a teacher and their pupil. So, if you're ready to learn about this emotional moment that few people know about and understand why Johnny Depp's teacher made him cry, make sure to watch until the very end. And before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Story Spot, where we bring you the most captivating and lesser-known stories from the world of celebrities and beyond. Now, let's begin the story that left Johnny Depp in tears. Before we talk about the emotional moment between Johnny Depp and his teacher, it's important to understand the foundation of Johnny Depp's early life, which set the stage for his profound connection. Johnny Depp wasn't always the Hollywood star we know today. His beginnings were far from the glamorous life of fame and fortune that would eventually be his. In fact, Depp's upbringing was marked by challenges that many people can relate to, struggles with family, school, and finding his own path in life. Johnny Depp was born on June 9, 1963, in Owensboro, Kentucky. The family moved around quite a bit during his childhood, with Depp later saying that he lived in over 20 different places before he turned 15. His father, John Depp Sr., worked in various jobs, and his mother, Betty Sue Palmer, was a waitress. Growing up in a working-class family, Depp often felt out of place in the world around him. His childhood wasn't a fairy tale. It was full of instability, and his parents had a turbulent relationship that led to their eventual divorce when Johnny was just 15. Though Depp's home life was difficult at times, he found solace in music. He developed a deep love for playing guitar, which became an escape for him. He was passionate about music, and it was this passion that led him to form a band as a teenager, even before fully embracing his potential as an actor. Music wasn't just a hobby. It was something that allowed him to express himself and cope with the challenges of his early years. Despite his love for music, Depp wasn't always a model student. In fact, his academic journey was rocky, and he struggled with traditional schooling. His teachers described him as a quiet, rebellious student, someone who didn't always fit in with the norms of the classroom. Depp's relationship with school was complicated. He often felt misunderstood and found it hard to connect with the conventional educational system. At the age of 12, Depp's life took an important turn. He and his family moved to Miramar, Florida, where Johnny attended school at the Miramar High School. It was here that he met a teacher who would leave a lasting impression on him and help shape the man he would become. This teacher wasn't just any educator. They were someone who saw potential in Depp when others might have overlooked him. This teacher's influence would be pivotal in Depp's life, providing him with guidance and encouragement during a crucial time in his adolescence. This teacher, whose name would later become intertwined with Johnny Depp's story, wasn't known for conventional teaching methods. Instead of simply focusing on academics, they took a more personal approach, understanding the needs and struggles of their students. They recognized the unique qualities that made Johnny different from the others, and instead of trying to change him, they nurtured his individuality. This teacher was able to see beyond Depp's rebellious exterior and recognize his talent and creativity. In fact, this teacher played a crucial role in helping Depp feel more confident in himself. Depp once shared in an interview that this teacher was the first person who really made him feel understood, and it was a support that made a huge difference during his teenage years. The teacher was patient, supportive, and often gave Depp the space he needed to explore his own interests without judgment. This kind of relationship wasn't something Depp had experienced much before. His teacher encouraged him to pursue his passion for music and supported his creative ventures, even if they didn't always align with the traditional path of academic success. What made this relationship even more special was that Depp's teacher didn't just give advice or guidance. They actively engaged with Depp's world. Whether it was talking about music or exploring other creative pursuits, this teacher was a constant source of encouragement. They saw Depp's potential before anyone else did and told him to chase his dreams, even if that meant stepping outside the conventional world of education. Depp was inspired by their belief in him, and it gave him the strength to pursue his passions more seriously. This encouragement was one of the key factors that eventually led Depp to make the bold decision to drop out of high school at the age of 16 to pursue a career in music and acting. Though Depp's path wasn't typical, the support he received from his teacher gave him the confidence to take that leap. It was a turning point in his life, one that was filled with uncertainty, but also an undeniable drive to follow his heart. After dropping out of school, Depp moved to Los Angeles, where he would eventually get his big break in Hollywood. But even as his career soared, Depp never forgot the teacher who had made such a profound impact on his life. In the years that followed, Johnny Depp's career would take him to places he never imagined, but he would always remember the lesson his teacher had taught him: to trust in his own voice and to pursue his dreams no matter how unconventional they seemed. That encouragement, those words of wisdom, stayed with him throughout his journey. Even when Depp faced challenges in Hollywood or encountered obstacles in his personal life, he often reflected on the advice his teacher had given him, finding strength in their belief in him. As Depp rose to fame, he remained humble about the impact that people from his past had on him. In fact, Depp often shared how much he valued the role his teacher had played in his life, acknowledging that without their support, he might not have had the courage to follow his dreams. This bond was a testament to the powerful influence that one person can have on another's life, especially during the formative years of adolescence. In the years that followed, Depp's success in Hollywood would bring him to new heights, but his past remained an integral part of who he was. And it was that teacher who had helped him discover his path that would become a central figure in one of the most emotional moments of his life. This moment, when Depp would reconnect with his teacher years later, would become one of the most profound events of his career. It would serve as a reminder that sometimes the people who touch our lives the most aren't always the ones who are there for grand moments, but the ones who are there when we need them the most. Before we dive into the powerful moment that would later make Johnny Depp cry, it's important to understand how his teacher, who had been such an integral part of his early life, came to be recognized beyond the classroom. The teacher wasn't just some ordinary educator. They were someone who not only had a profound impact on Depp, but also on many others around them. It was this unique ability to touch lives and inspire that eventually led to the teacher gaining public recognition, a recognition that would culminate in an invitation to appear on a popular TV show. The teacher's story wasn't the typical one of a teacher working quietly behind the scenes in a school. This teacher had always gone beyond the basic curriculum, working to understand their students on a deeper level. While many teachers focus on grades and test scores, this teacher believed in fostering creativity, individual expression, and helping students unlock their true potential. They didn't simply impart knowledge. They nurtured the person behind the student. This approach earned them respect among both students and colleagues, creating a reputation as someone who truly cared about the well-being and success of their pupils. Word of this teacher's exceptional methods and genuine commitment began to spread beyond the walls of their classroom. Over time, their unique teaching style caught the attention of educational professionals and the media alike. The teacher's reputation as someone who could bring out the best in even the most challenging students became well known. They became somewhat of a local legend, especially within the education community, admired for their passion and the transformative effect they had on the lives of many. As the years passed, the teacher's influence grew, and it wasn't long before they were invited to speak at various educational conferences and events. However, it wasn't until an unexpected phone call from a major TV network that the teacher's life would take an even more public turn. The network had been following the teacher's work and was intrigued by the impact they had made in the lives of their students. They wanted the teacher to appear on their show, to share their insights, and talk about the importance of education and mentorship in shaping young lives. The invitation was an incredible honor, a recognition of not just a teacher's impact on one student, Johnny Depp, but on an entire generation. This TV show was well known for featuring guests who had made significant contributions in their fields, and to be invited as a guest was a major accomplishment. The show had a reputation for tackling important topics, often focusing on personal stories of success and resilience, and a teacher's appearance would fit perfectly into this narrative. It was a chance for them to step out of the classroom and onto a larger stage, where their message could reach a much wider audience. In preparing for the show, the teacher was nervous but excited. They were aware of the significance of the moment. It wasn't just about gaining recognition. It was about sharing their story, their philosophy on education, and how deeply they believed in the potential of each and every student they taught. However, for the teacher, this appearance was more than just an opportunity to speak to a larger audience. It was a moment to reflect on the students who had shaped their journey, and none was more significant than Johnny Depp. For Depp, the teacher's appearance on the TV show was especially poignant. Despite his global fame, Johnny never forgot the role this teacher had played in his life, shaping him in ways that were deeply personal and transformative. Depp had often spoken about the teacher's influence, crediting them with helping him find the confidence to pursue his dreams against all odds. So, when he found out that this teacher, the same person who had once encouraged him to follow his heart, was going to be on TV, it brought back a flood of memories from his childhood. Depp's admiration for this teacher was immense, and he understood that their appearance on this show would be a significant moment, not just for the teacher, but for their entire shared journey. As the teacher stepped onto the set of the show, the audience was eager to hear what they had to say. The teacher was poised, articulate, and full of warmth as they shared their experiences. They spoke about their approach to teaching, emphasizing the importance of recognizing the individual potential in each student and offering them the space to grow. But as the conversation progressed, the host asked a question that would take things in a deeply emotional direction. They inquired about the teacher's most memorable student, a student who stood out above the rest. Without hesitation, the teacher spoke of Johnny Depp, not only as a student, but as a person who had left an indelible mark on their life. They spoke with reverence about their bond, about how they had watched Depp grow from a rebellious teenager into someone who found his way in the world. The teacher didn't just talk about Depp's career or fame. They spoke about him as a human being, someone who had struggled but ultimately triumphed through the strength of his spirit and the lessons he had learned. When the teacher talked about Depp, it was clear that this wasn't just another story of a student who had become famous. This was a deeply personal account of how one individual's belief in another could change the course of their life. The teacher shared how Depp had been a quiet, rebellious student, often misunderstood by others, but they had never given up on him. Instead, they saw beyond the surface, recognizing Depp's potential long before he became the star we know today. The teacher shared how they had been there for him during some of the most challenging moments of his adolescence, offering guidance when he needed it most. As the teacher spoke about Johnny Depp, the emotions in the room were palpable. The audience was captivated, and many were moved by the heartfelt words. Depp, who was watching from home, found himself overwhelmed with emotion. The teacher's words were powerful, and they brought back memories of a time when he was just a teenager, uncertain of his future and desperate for someone to believe in him. It was in that moment that Johnny Depp was reminded of the incredible impact his teacher had had on his life, and the words spoken on that show would resonate with him for years to come. The significance of this appearance on the TV show wasn't just in the recognition of the teacher's extraordinary impact on their students. It was in the bond that was so clearly visible between the teacher and Depp, a bond that had remained strong over the years despite the distance and differences in their lives. For Depp, the appearance was a reminder of how far he had come and how the teacher's unwavering belief in him had made all the difference in the world. It was a moment that brought their shared history full circle and would leave an indelible mark on both of their lives. As the teacher stood in front of the camera, ready to speak on the popular TV show, there was an air of calmness about them. Despite the nerves that must have come of being on such a public stage, they maintained a composed and heartfelt demeanor knowing that the message they were about to share wasn't just for the audience in front of them, but for anyone who had ever felt misunderstood or overlooked. The teacher's message was simple yet profound, focusing on the power of belief in oneself, belief in others, and the transformative impact of mentorship. This message would resonate deeply with Johnny Depp, bringing him back to a place in his past that had shaped his very identity. The teacher began by discussing the importance of recognizing potential in every individual, even when that potential isn't immediately obvious. They spoke about how many students, especially those who are rebellious or struggle with traditional education, often slip through the cracks. The teacher shared that in their years of teaching, they had seen countless students labeled as troublemakers or underachievers who, with the right guidance, went on to accomplish incredible things. This message was particularly significant to Depp, who, during his teenage years, had often been viewed as an outsider or someone who didn't fit into the conventional mold. Depp had been a student who struggled with authority, who wasn't always interested in following the rules, and who faced challenges in school that many others didn't fully understand. The teacher's words about the power of seeing beyond a student's exterior were deeply personal for Depp. He had often felt like an outcast, not just in school, but in the world at large. Depp wasn't the typical student who excelled in academics or adhered to the standards set by the education system. But this teacher had been different. They had recognized Depp's uniqueness, his creativity, and his raw potential, even when he didn't see it in himself. It was this belief that the teacher shared so passionately on the show, that everyone has a capacity for greatness, even if that greatness doesn't look like what society expects it to. Depp, who had long credited this teacher for seeing his potential when others had not, must have felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude as he listened to the teacher's words. The lesson that it was okay to be different, that individuality was something to be celebrated, was one that had stayed with him throughout his career. The teacher also emphasized the importance of mentorship, something that had played a crucial role in Depp's life. They spoke about how mentors, those who take the time to invest in others, can have a profound and lasting impact. For the teacher, this wasn't just about teaching a curriculum or giving lectures. It was about being there for their students in a way that transcended academics. They share how they had made a conscious effort to form personal connections with their students, understanding their struggles and helping them navigate their personal challenges. This approach was not only about academic success, but about nurturing the whole person. Depp had experienced this firsthand. This teacher hadn't simply been a figure of authority in his life. They had been a guiding force, someone who encouraged him when he needed it most and offered him the belief that he could achieve more than he thought possible. One of the most powerful anecdotes the teacher shared on the show was about a particularly challenging student, a student who had been written off by many. This student, like Depp, had been rebellious and misunderstood. They hadn't been an easy student to teach, and many had given up on them. However, the teacher had never stopped believing in the student's potential. They worked with the student one-on-one, showing patience and understanding when others had walked away. Eventually, this student found their way, just as Depp had done, and went on to accomplish great things. The teacher's story about this student was meant to demonstrate that with the right support, anyone can rise above their circumstances and succeed. For Depp, this anecdote struck a deep chord. He could see himself in that student, the one who had been misunderstood, the one who had struggled to fit into a world that didn't quite make sense to him. Depp's journey had been anything but conventional, and much like the student in the story, there had been moments when he felt like giving up or when others doubted his potential. Depp had dropped out of high school, turned his back on a traditional academic path, and pursued a career in the arts, a path that was fraught with uncertainty. Yet, it was the belief of his teacher, someone who saw beyond his struggles, that had made all the difference. Listening to the teacher's story of mentorship, Depp was reminded of just how important that belief had been for him. The teacher also discussed the idea that education isn't just about learning facts or memorizing information. It's about learning who you are and what you're capable of. For the teacher, the classroom was a space for self-discovery, where students were encouraged to explore their passions and interests. This resonated deeply with Depp, whose own journey had been shaped by his desire to express himself through music and acting, long before he became a household name. Depp's creativity had always been his driving force, but But it wasn't until his teacher had recognized and encouraged that creativity that he felt truly seen. This message, that education should empower individuals to find and nurture their passions, was something that Depp had internalized throughout his career. The teacher's message on the show wasn't just about the past. It was about how mentorship and belief in others can continue to shape lives long after classroom doors are closed. The teacher spoke about the ripple effect that a mentor's words and actions can have. When one person believes in you, it can inspire you to believe in others. This sense of interconnectedness, of passing on the belief and support that had once been given to you, was something that the teacher emphasized with great passion. Depp, who had experienced the impact of this belief firsthand, must have felt a sense of deep connection to these words, knowing that his own success wasn't just about his talents, but about the people who had guided and supported him along the way. As the teacher spoke on the show, it was clear that their message wasn't just about teaching in the traditional sense. It was about being there for students, about understanding their needs, and about offering the kind of mentorship that changes lives. This was a message that Johnny Depp had lived through, and hearing it again must have brought back memories of his own time in the teacher's classroom. It was a reminder of the profound impact one person can have on another's journey, a reminder that belief, support, and mentorship are essential in helping individuals realize their full potential. As the teacher's words echoed through the airwaves on that live broadcast, something in Johnny Depp shifted. Sitting at home, watching the broadcast unfold, Depp was overcome with emotion. It wasn't just the words being spoken by the teacher. It was the memories they stirred, the flood of emotions that he had long buried. The teacher had spoken so candidly about their relationship, about how they had believed in Depp when he was a teenager struggling to find his place in the world. For Depp, hearing those words again, so publicly and so sincerely, struck a deep chord within him. Johnny Depp was known for his stoic demeanor in public, often maintaining a calm, almost mysterious persona. He was a star who had been through a great deal, both professionally and personally. Yet in that moment, as the teacher recounted the special bond they shared, Depp was visibly moved. His eyes welled with tears as he listened to the teacher speak of him with such respect, admiration, and pride. The words that had once been spoken to him in a classroom, words that had helped him find the courage to chase his dreams, now seemed even more powerful. They had come full circle, amplified by the context of a television broadcast watched by millions. Depp wasn't one to openly show his emotions, especially not in public. He had long guarded his vulnerability, often keeping his personal life private. Yet, as the teacher described the impact of their mentorship and how it had shaped Depp into the person he had become, the actor couldn't help but be affected. There was something profoundly touching about hearing someone speak so honestly about the role they played in his life. As the words sank in, Depp's usual composure began to crack. The camera caught glimpses of his emotional response, his eyes glistening, his face softening as the teacher recounted their special relationship. What made this moment even more significant was the way in which Depp's past and present seemed to collide. On the screen, he was no longer just a Hollywood superstar known for his roles in Pirates of the Caribbean or Edward Scissorhands. He was a young boy again, a teenager struggling to figure out who he was and where he belonged. In hearing the teacher speak of those formative years, Depp was reminded of the times when it felt lost and uncertain, when the only person who believed in him was his teacher. That connection, which had been so vital to his personal and professional growth, was now being laid bare for the world to see. The impact of the teacher's words was undeniable. Depp was not the only one who was deeply moved. The live broadcast, which reached millions of viewers, witnessed the raw emotion of a man who had achieved global fame, yet was still profoundly affected by the people who had shaped him in his youth. For Depp, this was not just a moment of nostalgia or sentimentality. It was a reminder of his roots, of where he came from, and the crucial influence of those who believed in him before the fame and the fortune. The teacher's message reminded him of the importance of staying true to his authentic self, something that had often been difficult for him in the midst of his celebrity. As Depp sat quietly, absorbing the words on the screen, the public's reaction began to swell. Fans, media personalities, and even the host of the show were visibly moved by Depp's response. It was rare to see someone as famous as Depp so vulnerable, so open in a public setting. The audience, both at home and in the studio, could sense the deep emotional weight of the moment. It wasn't just about the teacher's words. It was about the unspoken bond between the teacher and Depp, a bond that had been cultivated over years of mentorship, trust, and belief in each other. For many viewers, this moment was a revelation. They had seen Johnny Depp as a charming, eccentric actor, but this was a side of him that few had ever witnessed. This was not the calculated, put-together persona that the media often captured. This was the real Depp, the one who had been shaped by his past, by the people who had guided him through the difficult moments of his youth. The vulnerability in his reaction made him more relatable to fans, who admired him not just for his acting ability, but for his emotional depth. For many, Depp's tears represented something far beyond a Hollywood performance. They symbolized the profound effect that a mentor can have on someone's life, and how that influence can resonate long after the classroom doors close. The teacher's message was not lost on the audience. It was a rare moment on television when the boundaries between the personal and professional were blurred so completely. As Depp wiped away his tears, viewers could feel the weight of the shared history between him and the teacher, a history that had been built on respect, encouragement, and unwavering belief. It was a reminder that even the most successful people, those who seem to have it all, still carry with them the memories of those who helped them become who they are. Depp's tears weren't just about the teacher's words. They were about the realization of how much that belief had meant to him over the years. The public's reaction to Depp's emotional response was overwhelmingly supportive. Fans took to social media, expressing their admiration for the actor's vulnerability and his heartfelt appreciation for his teacher. It was a moment of human connection that transcended the usual celebrity gloss, offering a glimpse into Depp's true self. People applauded Depp for allowing his emotions to show and for acknowledging the impact of someone who had helped shape his life. Many viewers were touched by the way Depp didn't try to hide his emotions, instead embracing the rawness of the moment. It was a powerful reminder that even in a world of fame and fortune, the bonds that shape us in our formative years are the ones that stick with us the most. Depp's emotional reaction also sparked a broader conversation about the role of mentors and teachers in shaping not just careers, but lives. His reaction was a testament to the importance of having someone who believes in you, someone who sees your potential even when you can't see it yourself. It wasn't just about his relationship with this teacher. It was about the universal truth that we all need guidance and support in our lives, and sometimes those who give us that support are the ones who leave the most lasting impact. In the days following the broadcast, the moment continued to resonate. Fans and critics alike shared their thoughts on Depp's vulnerability, with many praising him for being real in a world where many stars maintain a carefully crafted image. Depp's tears and the teacher's words would go on to inspire people to reflect on the mentors in their own lives, those who believed in them when they had little to believe in themselves. The emotional exchange on that live broadcast wasn't just a personal moment for Johnny Depp. It was a moment that brought to light the power of human connection and the enduring influence of mentorship. In the days and weeks following the televised broadcast, the emotional moment between Johnny Depp and his teacher reverberated far beyond the studio. The show had already captured the public's attention, but Depp's heartfelt reaction to his teacher's words brought a new level of depth to the story. The immediate aftermath of the event saw Depp not only reflecting on his past, but also making subtle shifts in his personal and professional life, likely influenced by the emotions stirred during that unforgettable broadcast. Johnny Depp had always been someone who kept his personal life guarded. As a Hollywood star, he was accustomed to public scrutiny, but he had largely kept his vulnerability hidden behind a veneer of eccentricity and mystique. His decision to open up on live television, to show such raw emotion, was an unexpected but deeply human moment. It allowed his fans to see a side of him that was rarely on display, a side that was not defined by the roles he played on screen, but by the man he had become off screen. In the aftermath of that moment, Depp received an outpouring of support from fans, critics, and even colleagues who expressed admiration for his emotional honesty. This shift in public perception was subtle but significant. It painted Depp as more than just a brilliant actor. It reminded the world that he was also a human being, shaped by the same kinds of struggles, doubts, and moments of inspiration that affect us all. In terms of his personal life, Depp's response to his teacher's words seemed to rekindle something deep within him. The flood of emotions that surfaced during the broadcast seemed to prompt Depp to reflect on his relationships, not just with his teacher, but with the people in his life who had influenced him in meaningful ways. After all, it wasn't just his teacher who had played a key role in shaping his journey. Depp had long been surrounded by creative individuals, mentors, and friends who had helped him along the way, offering guidance and support as he navigated the tumultuous waters of fame and personal hardship. The teacher's public recognition and the subsequent emotional exchange seemed to make Depp more reflective about the importance of these connections in his life. His teacher had been the first person to see potential in him when he was struggling with self-doubt, and now, in a very public way, that belief had been validated once again. It wasn't just a reminder of the past, but a call to honor and acknowledge those who had helped him along the way. The public display of emotion made Depp more attuned to the value of mentorship, and it likely reinforced the importance of being that person for others. In the wake of the broadcast, Depp was also seen more openly discussing his past and the influence his teacher had on him. In interviews and press interactions, he often mentioned how the teacher had given him the courage to follow an unconventional path in life, a path that eventually led him to Hollywood stardom. Depp reflected on the lessons he had learned from that time, the importance of trusting one's instincts, the power of perseverance, and the realization that success doesn't always come in the form that society expects. As he navigated professional life, it seemed clear that Depp was carrying these lessons with him, perhaps more consciously than before. The tears he shed during the broadcast represented more than just nostalgia. They represented a deep recognition of the people who had shaped his journey, and renewed appreciation for the moments that had guided him toward the life he had built. From a professional perspective, the impact of this moment was also significant. Hollywood had often been critical of Depp in recent years, particularly in light of the legal battles and personal struggles he had faced. However, the vulnerability he showed during the broadcast humanized him in a way that few moments of his career had. It wasn't just about his acting skills or his star power. It was about his character, his capacity for empathy, and his ability to reflect on his own life with authenticity. This was a quality that many fans and critics found appealing, even inspiring. Depp's emotional openness allowed people to connect with him on a deeper level, reminding the public that the person behind the famous roles was someone with a rich history and a complex inner world. It wasn't just Depp's fans who were moved by the moment. His peers in the entertainment industry took notice as well. Many actors, directors, and producers praised Depp for his bravery in showing such vulnerability. In an industry where appearances are often carefully curated and public personas are meticulously managed, Depp's emotional transparency stood out as a rare and powerful gesture. It seemed to signal a shift in how celebrities were beginning to interact with their audiences, breaking down the walls that had traditionally separated public figures from the people who admired them. Depp's emotional response also sparked conversations about the role of celebrities as role models and how moments of human connection and empathy could be just as impactful as an actor's talent on screen. Beyond the professional world, Depp's emotional reaction highlighted the broader, timeless truth about the influence of educators and mentors. The teacher's words, which had so deeply affected Depp, serve as a powerful reminder of the irreplaceable role that mentors play in shaping our lives. It wasn't simply about academic instruction. It was about emotional and moral guidance. The teacher had believed in Depp when no one else did, seeing beyond his rebellious exterior to the person he could become. In a world that often focuses on grades, achievement, and outward success, this moment underscored the importance of nurturing the inner lives of students, offering them the belief that they are capable of more than they might realize. The broadcast also brought attention to the need for mentors in all walks of life. It wasn't just about the teacher-student relationship. It was about the power of someone investing in another person, encouraging them when they might be ready to give up, and giving them the tools to succeed in a world that can sometimes be harsh and indifferent. Depp's reflection on the teacher's influence reminded viewers that mentorship isn't just an academic or professional necessity. It's a human necessity. We all need someone who believes in us, someone who sees our potential and encourages us to keep moving forward, even when the world feels overwhelming. Depp's experience also highlighted the fact that mentorship doesn't always come from the people we expect. Sometimes, the people who leave the greatest impact on our lives are those who are not in positions of authority or power, but rather those who take the time to see us for who we truly are. The teacher who stood by Depp, even when he was misunderstood by others, showed him that there was more to success than fitting into society's mold. They encouraged him to be himself, to trust his instincts, and to follow his dreams. That was a message that stayed with Depp throughout his life and continued to shape his career. despite the many challenges he faced along the way. The teacher's words had a profound and lasting effect on Johnny Depp, bringing to light not just the power of mentorship, but also the deep emotional bond between teacher and student. Their belief in him, at a time when he was uncertain of his own path, became the catalyst that helped shape Depp into the man and actor he is today. The moment shared on that TV show was a powerful reminder that the right words, spoken at the right time, can change the course of someone's life. It wasn't just about a teacher speaking on a show. It was about the enduring influence of someone who saw potential in Depp when others might have overlooked it. This story isn't just about Johnny Depp. It's about the incredible role that mentors play in all our lives, whether they're teachers, friends, or anyone who has taken the time to guide and support us. We all have people who have shaped us, who believed in us when we couldn't believe in ourselves. Let's take a moment to reflect on those who've made a difference and acknowledge the powerful impact they've had. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to StorySpot for more incredible stories that highlight the unsung heroes in our lives. Thank you for watching.